Hey, what's up, everybody? This is not the Matt and Paul show. I'm just not techie, and I didn't know how to take that background off. So this is me and Robert Johnson today, or AKA Bob. What's up, Bob? How you doing?
Oh, doing great, Matt. Thanks for having me on the show, man.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun, man. Bob is founder of Custom Capsule Consultants and CBD is Better, and so he's does white labeling and private label and custom formulations for brands and also mushrooms. So we're gonna get into a bunch of things that Bob does, but he's one of the few people that I've met that's been selling CBD longer than me. Like I started in 2013. When did you start selling CBD, Bob?
We bought our first kilo of CBD isolate in November 2012, right when Colorado legalized cannabis. So we paid $85,000 for that kilo. It's
I
now
remember
selling
those
for
days.
300.
Yeah, I remember those days, man, when it was crazy. But yeah, if you don't mind, Bob, tell us about your background a bit and what got you into the cannabis world.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. I moved to Los Angeles the day Barack Obama was elected in 2008. I graduated from college in 2008 with a degree in writing and moved to LA to pursue a creative career. Right as the time as the housing market collapsed, the company or the country went into recession, and then on top of that, there was a writers' strike. Uh,
Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, centered around like the streaming rights, which was good foresight on the union's part. But anyways, I had to do something to survive. My roommate and I had a amateur cannabis business in college, I would say. We made edibles and like sold them outside the movie theater, and we're writers, and we just thought that the funny name for a pot edibles company would be "I can't believe it's pot butter," and so that was really the impetus. Was this funny joke that we wanted to start a brand. But back then there was not a ton of branding in anything cannabis, not flower, not edibles, and so we saw a real opportunity to make a brand and really make a presence in the city. And also, it was just a great way to meet people and literally butter them up by giving them brownies and caramel corn and becoming their friend. Giving them the delicious treats. And so that's how it started. And in 2009, we were anticipating that California was going to be. We assumed it was going to be the first state to legalize, and so we wanted to, get ahead of the laws. And typically in states, but especially in California, when there's a new industry that's going to come online and be regulated. Usually, politicians who have no idea about the industry want to make a bunch of rules about it that are arbitrary and based on no real insight. And
Yep.
so we decided to start a trade association for edibles manufacturers, because back then you would go into a dispensary and the edibles all had like their own arbitrary unit of measurement. You'd look at a cookie, you'd wonder how strong is this? How is this going to affect me? It says it's 10 skull and crossbones, you know? Or a root beer would say, triple strength or triple XL strength, and there was no set unit of measurement. So we called Steep Hill Labs in Oakland. They're one of the first labs in the country that was testing for cannabis, THC, and other cannabinoids. And we told them, hey, we want to start this trade association. We want to invite all the biggest edibles manufacturers in the state to join. And, we're going to require that we test every batch of edibles. Can we have the meeting at your place? And they're like, great, this sounds awesome. No one cares about testing because it's not required at the time. And
Yeah.
so that's why today, on edibles, it doesn't say, certain death or skull and crossbones. It says, this candy, this gummy has 10 milligrams Delta 9 THC or 25 milligrams CBD. We just figured if you wanted to legitimize cannabis or legitimize any plant-based medicine, then you've got to have like a repeatable dosage, right? You don't take an aspirin and sometimes your headache goes away, and sometimes you've seen like cartoon monkeys like flying out of the walls. It's a consistent effect.
Yeah, that's huge, man. I didn't know you were involved in all that in the beginning stages. So thank you for that work that you've done there, Bob. And
Yeah.
then where was the evolution into manufacturing products?
Yeah, well,
Like
still
for
at
other
that.
people.
So we were making brownies. We were making caramel corn. We started making lemonade drinks using medicated glycerin. And so at Steep Hill, they were using a standard from this wild-eyed, like Silicon Valley scientist that was one of the first people using fractal distillation to make a clear THC oil. And that THC oil was what they used as a standard to measure, the amounts of THC in other products. And so we had a trade association Christmas party, and we met this guy who also has this good relationship with Steep Hill, and he asked the guys from Steep Hill, prior to going to the party, who has the biggest edibles distribution, or just statewide distribution, and that was us. And so he approached us, outside smoking a joint, stepping out from the Christmas party. And he said, "Hey guys, I've got this really clear oil." Showed us in this little like perfume vial. So I want to sell it for $80 a gram. What do you think? Can you help me out? And we're like, yeah, give us like 5 grams, and we'll see what we can do. But we ended up teaming up with him. We saw just such an opportunity, and so because it was still like not completely legal at the time, we wanted to make. We felt like maybe it was naive, but we felt like we would be protected, and we like the DEA or whoever wouldn't come after us first if we were making like the most medicinal products, servicing the people with the most medical needs. And so that's what inspired us to make soft gel capsules and little breath sprays and stuff. Then it was a more medical form factor. We're not making brownies with cartoons on them anymore.
Gotcha.
But yeah, focus on those medical form factors.
That's awesome. And then what led you down the path of working with other brands? And were you just getting people reaching out to you, asking you about your capsules and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, we really the company that we founded was Tetra Labs. We made gold caps and a little squeeze tube. We called it Pure Gold. And we really turned away white label opportunities for a long time because, we had this, totally unique product that no one else had. But after a couple of years, there were, it just made sense. We made friends with dispensaries and other brands that wanted to make soft gels. And we figured, hey, they're gonna do it with or without us. We might as well help them out. Make sure that it's a high quality product getting out there, and it just made sense rather to not to lose that opportunity. And so we sold Tetra Labs in 2018, and the CTO, who was like the master soft gel guy, and myself decided, hey, there's a lot of opportunity in CBD. Some of the stuff that was frustrating about working in the cannabis business, like not being able to go state to state without opening another branch, right? When you're in California, the biggest cannabis market in the solar system, and you go to another state, like we opened in the state of Washington, you have to, basically pay just as much to set up a whole new facility, but then that entire state is about the size of Orange County. And so, it just didn't make sense for business to, have to have 50 factories to operate in 50 states.
Yeah.
And so that's when the CBD thing became a lot more appealing. And we saw that there was a lot of CBD white labelers making tinctures, making vaporizers and topicals, but not a lot doing soft gels. And so that was our real strength and where we figured we could fit in.
Nice, man. And people that are watching this, like Robert and his team are right now, they're the only manufacturers I trust. It's really hard to find someone that will care, especially if you're like a smaller brand and you're starting up. They're going to take care of you people. So I'll give information before we get off of how you can get in touch with Robert. And they don't just do capsules. Like, what other types of products do you guys make?
Yeah, I mean, really popular in supplements right now are gummies, and we wanted to make the highest quality gummies. So we're using a real nice pectin from Germany. We replaced corn syrup with tapioca syrup, and we're always trying to solve problems too. One of the biggest problems with gummies is you ship them, especially this time of year in the summer, and if they sit on somebody's porch or even in a hot FedEx truck, you end up opening a bag and you've got a melted pile of gummies. And so we made these gummies that are very heat resistant.
Nice.
They don't melt at all, and so that's a popular one. We make vapes, we make tinctures, and we even made this thing that we did at Tetra Labs, a smokable soft gel that we call a dab. That is pretty unique, and a lot of brands are excited for products like that, because there's a lot of copycats in this industry, right? A lot of the same sort of products. So ways to really kind of interrupt the pattern of a distributor or a store owner. If you go in with a disposable vaporizer, they know those are popular, but you're up against 50 other brands, and they've kind of seen it all. So that's what we like to do, is create products that kind of interrupt that pattern. Like, wait a minute, a smokable soft gel. Let me check this out. They carry that, then it's easier to get your tinctures, your disposables, those kind of Me Too products in the door.
I love that. I always tell brands that you should have something unique to get your foot in the door, especially if you're going after brick and mortar distribution. And so Robert has, a bunch of unique things, and he has so many connections with other manufacturers that if he can't make it, he's got somebody down the road that can make it. So he's just the full house of all the products that you want to white label, people. So, and like I said, he's the only team that I trust out there. Like, I've been disappointed a lot by manufacturers, in the past, just, sending them clients and they drop the ball on communication and things like that. But like, what should somebody look for when they're hiring a manufacturer? Like, what are some key things? Like, if they don't end up going with you, or even just looking at you and your team, what should they be looking at?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, the number one thing when someone calls me and they've already been working with a manufacturer and they're looking for someone new, I want to ask them, like, well, why is that? And the number one thing that I hear over and over is just like you say, it's communication, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're a brand and you're planning to launch a new product and you're building your marketing campaign around it, and got your packaging, paid for your ads, and then the product doesn't come in, and you don't even get a call, or you get a call the night before, oh hey, that those products are going to be a week late. That messes up a lot of stuff, and it really could have been prevented by just a simple communication, a text message, a phone call. And so yeah, I like to over communicate, and so we'll send messages, videos, the products in production, the soft gels are curing. Hey,
No.
we purchased your ingredients, they're coming this Thursday. I never want to be accused of not being able to simply communicate, because that just seems like easy and basic, but something that is often overlooked.
Oh
But
man, when I had my CBD brand, there would be times where I'm like down to my last box of tinctures, and my new tinctures were supposed to be there weeks ago, and I'm screaming at my manufacturer, "Where's my tinctures, man? I'm about to run out!" Like, so yeah, it's scary, man. So finding somebody like you and your team is just a huge opportunity for people that want someone that's actually going to do what they say they're going to do. It's just rampant in the industry. I talk to so many CBD brands, and they all pretty much have had issues with manufacturers and trying to find someone that can come through for them. And because most of the time they just want to work with the biggest brands, and they're always looking for the whales. And if you're a smaller brand, they just don't care. And it's just bullshit to me. Like, we should treat each other with respect, whether you're placing a $500,000 order or a $5,000 order. Like, and so that's what I like about you. And like, there's been a lot of changes in the last year with CBD, and of course it's just always changing. But where do you see the industry going in the next 1 to 3 years?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I have a couple different answers. One with hemp in general. I mean, the proliferation of Delta 8 and other like THC isomers in the past couple of years has been undeniable. And I was writing a lot of articles a year, 18 months ago, kind of accusing the cannabis industry of maligning Delta 8, of really trying to apply the same sort of scare tactics of Nancy Reagan, which I found totally hypocritical. Cannabis companies just spent 25 years trying to legitimize cannabis, get it legal, and then some hemp-derived THC comes and steps on their corner and affects their bottom line, and they just use the same BS contraband or bad press to try and delegitimize it. But now I'm seeing more and more big cannabis brands realize, if we can't beat them, we should join them. And seeing what I said at the top is, we could sell to all 50 states. We don't have to have 50 factories. We already have some brand equity in the industry. And so I think, we're about to see a lot of California brands and Colorado brands that are going to have hemp, HHC, Delta 8 products hit the market.
Yeah.
Otherwise, with CBD, I see a lot of opportunity internationally, and it's easy living in Los Angeles and in California to really be ahead of the time and think like, this wave is kind of already crested. But in countries like Japan and South America, Australia, CBD is just coming on.
Yeah.
And so there's a huge wave there. There's not nearly the saturation of brands, and I think internationally is a huge opportunity for CBD.
Yeah, and from what I know, they can't sell Delta 8 and HHC and all that international. It's all just CBD, as far as I know. They can't sell all those cannabinoids legally at the moment, as far as I know. And so they're at least 2 years behind overseas. And I talked to a lot of European brands, and you're right, the competition is slim out there, man. They're some of these brands I talked to, they're crushing, and I'm like, how are you doing it? They're like, we don't have a lot of competition. And so, yeah, it's a great thing to think about, and good point there. And then another thing that you're doing that I like is you're working now manufacturing mushroom products. And I feel like it's going to be as big as cannabis, in my opinion, in the next 5 to 10 years. Not only microdosing psilocybin and psychedelic mushrooms, but just lion's mane and turkey tail and cordyceps and all the regular non-psychedelic mushrooms are getting more and more out there to the world and the community. And so I'm glad that you're offering those for white label as well. And so what do you think, like, where do you see the mushroom world going, and especially the microdosing and the psychedelic side of things?
Yeah, I feel like I get asked every week, if not a few times a week, to look into that crystal ball and predict how psychedelics legalization is going to roll out. I'm not totally sure. I think Oregon is leading the way, and they're the first ones that have legalized for psychotherapy. And so that'll be interesting to see how that goes. I mean, with ketamine, I think is a good example, right? So there's ketamine clinics popped up, and they had these sessions that I think it started out costing $750, $1,000 a session for these guided sessions with professional psychologists, psychiatrists,
Yeah.
and you know, in our world of tech disruption and COVID too, right? Then they started doing on video interviews
Yeah.
with the professionals, and that was a cheaper alternative, right, than having to have somebody in an office. And then from there, it became, well, we're going to send you the ketamine, and we'll send you a brochure.
Yeah.
That was kind of like the psychotherapist. And at that point, you're just kind of getting drugs in the mail, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, that's what mine blew. They just send you the package in the mail. My buddy did it, and he had a great experience. He said, and yeah, it's just there's no doctor with you. But you do a Zoom call like afterwards with the doctor, I guess, to like
Right.
reconcile. But yeah, there's nobody watching you necessarily other than your friend or your wife or whoever. Like, and so, but the crazy thing with the ketamine, there's thousands of ketamine clinics that popped up all over the country pretty much overnight. So there's a big opportunity with mushrooms, people. And like me and Paul Booth have been saying a lot recently, it's so hard to advertise CBD. Well, a lion's mane or cordyceps or a mushroom combination is a lot easier to advertise than a CBD product. And so why not reach out to Robert and just get one SKU made of a mushroom brand and launch a brand with that. And then you can market all your cannabis products and your CBD products through email on the back end. You could actually be doing TikTok and Facebook ads and Google ads with these mushroom products, and you're not going to have the same stipulations and restrictions that you would with a CBD brand. And so I would definitely reach out to Robert and talk with him and his team about mushrooms, and as well as all the cannabinoid products that they offer, because it's just a great strategy. Like one of the biggest brands we consult with, they have breast strips, or like these Nutri strips they call them, and they have like vitamins in there and stuff like that, but there's no CBD. And they do TV commercials with those, and then they get people's emails, and people call in, and then they sell them the CBD products with their other CBD brand on the back end, and they're doing millions in sales.
Nice.
And so yeah, it's a great strategy to have a non-CBD product. And like I said, Robert has a vast array of mushroom options there. And so just another thing to think about. And like, in your opinion, Robert, how many SKUs should a brand typically start out with? Is there a rule to that, or in your thoughts, or what do you think? Or is it just depends on the brand? Or
Well, I should say that you've been very nice this whole time endorsing me and my services. I would also throw it back to you, and I'm a client of Matt's, and I have been, for consulting and his digital marketing prowess. I recommend you and Paul to anybody that's looking to really expand their brand online. And I came to you guys with 75 products, and you're just like, to really, find your core demographic. Each one of these products really has its own market. And so, some of the advice that I've really taken to heart from your tutelage is, keep it simple, keep the SKUs focused, really choose the product that you believe in the most, and find your audience for that, because each one of those is a full-time job, finding that audience. And
yeah.
So I think 1 to 5 products is a great place to start.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And because it makes it easier to people to track all your inventory and things like that. If you start with like 20 SKUs, then you got to track all those SKUs and deal with all that inventory. It's just much better when you're doing like 1 to 5 SKUs to start out with. And then once you build that audience, you start to roll out more SKUs that solve the problems of your audience. And so, but we call it AMP, audience message product. If you can nail all 3 of those things, you have an amazing brand. Like most 95% of CBD brands I talk to, they're so focused on the products, they forget about the audience and message. And a lot of the times their products aren't even that great. And so it's like, man, like you really got to nail it, people. And you got to have great products after you dial in that beautiful brand, and you got a beautiful website and packaging. Okay, now what? they're going to take it and they're going to need a result. And so working with Robert and his team, they got the best quality products out there. And like I said, he's been selling it longer than me, man. I've never met anybody like very rarely. So yeah, it's just obviously you're passionate like I am about cannabis and just helping people, and like it just shines through every time I talk to you. You're not in this just to make a fortune and get out or whatever. You're here to help people with these mushrooms and cannabis supplements. And so what's the best way if somebody wants to reach out to you to learn more about the white label products that they can create with you?
Yeah, our white label site is customcapsuleconsultants.com. You can check that out and reach us through there. My email is just robert@customcapsuleconsultants.com. You can schedule a call with us, request a quote. We are here in Los Angeles. If you're local to Southern California or coming through here, you asked earlier, once one of the things to look for in a manufacturer, ask if you can tour their facility.
Yeah, I always say that.
You want to go in, you want to make sure that it's clean and that it's being operated well, that they have quality control, quality assurance systems in place. And so yeah, we have not only an open door policy, but I actually designed our whole floor plan with these big viewing windows into all of our labs, kind of as a metaphor for how transparent we want to be with our clients, because you have your whole brand riding on the quality of that product, right? And so you really have to trust the manufacturer, and if they wouldn't let you come and see the facility, that would be a first giant red flag.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me before too. Like I'm like, can I come out to Denver and see the manufacturing facility? And they're like, oh, right now we're doing some construction or something. I forgot what the excuse was. I was like, what are you talking about, man? And I was like, oh, that's a no from me, man. If you can't let me see your facilities, like that's red flag big time. So yeah. And are there any other words of wisdom you want to leave the audience with before we take off for today?
I mean, I love entrepreneurs, and that's one of the big reasons I love, fighting for maligned plant medicine. But really, I think what draws me to these industries is because they're on such the bleeding edge. It really gives opportunity for Americans to make a business for themselves, because it's not 100%. Venture capital diving into this industry yet. It really gives you an opportunity to hit the ground running and make a name for yourself to eventually sell or become a household brand. And so that's why I like working with the small guys, because you can really see those Hollywood sort of stories of a scrappy startup to major success. And so, the advice that you gave is, and one drive or impulse, I think, with a lot of entrepreneurs is they want to do everything themselves and they want to control everything themselves. Mm-hmm. But what I learn and continue to learn is the more you focus on what you're really good at and delegate the rest to people that are really good at that, and that's how you can build a scalable empire. And so that's what I would recommend. If you're going to start a brand, work with Matt, get your digital marketing, dialed in, really understand your brand, your audience, your message, and let somebody else do the manufacturing. There can be peaks and valleys in this industry. And so, if you have the big infrastructure of manufacturing your own products, that can really be a detriment in those valleys. So I would focus on building the brand, and unless you have multi-million dollars, don't start out fully vertically integrated.
Oh man, it's crazy. Yeah, like unless you have a huge team and millions of dollars, like you're saying, it's hard enough just to launch a brand and work on the sales and marketing aspects alone, let alone adding manufacturing and extraction and farming and other things to that list. It's like, man, just focus on getting the brand off the ground and building an audience. That's enough. Trust me, that's enough to deal with.
And I totally get the impulse. It's my impulse as an entrepreneur too. But yeah, the more I meet people like you and people that are really much better than me at their areas of expertise, I realize it's a no-brainer to work with those folks.
Yeah, and I'm a work in progress myself. Like I come from Chicago, the city of big shoulders. Like we're all about work and doing it all ourselves and just taking on all the work. And I learned over the past 3 to 5 years just how important it is to delegate and be a leader and just lead your team and take some of the weight off. It's not cool to be working like 14 hours a day, in my opinion. Like although Elon Musk does it and Gary Vee does it, but it's just not my thing, man. Like, so kudos to them. But yeah, so people that are watching, you can reach out to Robert once again at customcapsuleconsultants.com or Robert at customcapsuleconsultants.com if you want to email him directly, or you can reach out to me directly if you have any questions. Happy to answer those. And but me and Robert will be doing these once a month or so. So we'll be back again soon. And I appreciate you, Bob, for spending the time with us. And like I said, people, this guy is the man. I trust him 100%. I put my legacy in the cannabis industry on that. And I've been doing this since 1989. And so you can't go wrong. Yeah, for sure, Bob. And I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you again in like a month.
All right. Yeah, likewise. Anybody have any questions? Look forward to talking to you.
Cool. Thanks again for your time, Bob.